Coming up in this Fincast, the world's best alternative to the tiger barb.
Oh, I see better color, I see more activity, my fish breed. I have a full-line pet store. I have fish tanks where I have apistogrammas breeding. I have fry. I have lots of fun stuff going on.
Hi everybody, John here with another Fincast, and welcome. I want to talk today about the Snakeskin Barb, which is a beautiful little fish. It looks kind of like a tiger barb, which is what you've probably seen in your local fish store, but this fish is more attractive. It's a little bit more expensive, but not bad, and it is way more peaceful than the tiger barb and swims around in the tank in beautiful schools. So we'll be talking about the Snakeskin Barb in just a moment. But the barbs are in an aquarium that I've been updating you on. It's my new planted aquarium, and I've added some new plants that I want to show you as well. So we'll get to all of that in just a moment. But first of all, I want to thank everybody because Fincasters has gone over 1 million channel views. And I never thought when we first started that this little project would have 1 million people looking at the videos that we've posted. So I just want to thank you for sharing. I want to thank you for subscribing and for viewing these videos. I hope that I'm continuing to show you something that you really enjoy, and I certainly am enjoying it. So we'll just keep on going. But we went over 1 million views, and I'm very excited about that. So let's talk about the Snakeskin Barb. This is a beautiful tank, and I've got a school of, I haven't even counted them, 6 or 7 in my 55-gallon aquarium, and this is a continuing part of what I'm calling my Huge Driftwood project. Basically, the aquascaping in this aquarium is one piece of driftwood that's almost 4 feet long, and it barely fit in the tank. And if you hit the card above my head, you can go back and look at the original video where we started the aquascaping on this aquarium. The other thing that we've got going is I'm using some products from Dennerle, which is a German company, and so this is their version of liquid CO2, so I've been using that. And then there's a product called a dosator, which is in the aquarium, and the dosator essentially slowly drips fertilizer into the tank. So those are in this aquarium, and we're about 2 or 3 weeks into this project now, and I got to tell you that the tank is looking fantastic. I haven't had to wipe the glass even once. There has been 0 algae on the glass. I mean 0, which means that the plants are out competing the algae, and so I've kind of arrived at that point in a planted aquarium where you really want things to be. And I can also tell that the fish are very happy. They're swimming slowly. They don't dart around when you walk in the room. Everybody just seems happy. The plecos are eating on the driftwood, and so this is a really nice aquarium right now. Now, originally I planted it with some plants that I told you about, some small green crypts and some bronze crypts and some other things, some anubias that I had around, and those are all doing well. But I felt like, you know, I had an opportunity here to maybe do a little bit more of that carpeted look that you're seeing in so many planted tanks. And so one of the plants that I put in there is this relatively new plant, and that is called basically the Monte Carlo. It's a microanthenium. Hope I'm saying that right. But let me tell you a little bit more about this. Here's a little bit more about Monte Carlo. This is a relatively new plant to the hobby. Comes from Europe and East Asia. And the nice thing about it, unlike other carpeting plants, is it's relatively easy to grow. In fact, it's classified as an easy plant. And if you've ever tried any of the other carpeting plants that give you that nice green carpet on the bottom of your aquarium, you know that's not true. The thing about Monte Carlo is you can grow it in high light, it'll grow in low light, you can use CO2, not CO2, and you of course will get much better results with the CO2, but the point is that it is something that's much more forgiving than many of the other carpeting plants. And what I did was I separated the bunches that I got. It came in the planted bunches in a little basket, and I pulled the floss off from around it and then planted numerous little sections in the aquasolum substrate, which is what I'm using in this tank. And the only problem that I've had is the aquasolum is a little lighter than typical gravel, and so it's easier for the fish to dig it up, and it seemed like I spent the first 3 or 4 days replanting. But after a while, it looks like the roots are taking hold, and I haven't had to replant nearly as much. And if you follow the what everybody is talking about on the internet, what will happen is these bunches will eventually grow together and you'll have that nice carpeted look on the bottom of your tank. I'm only a week or a week and a half into it, so it's too early to tell in my tank, but the plants at least look healthy and the fish have stopped digging it up. I also put in a bunch of Rotana Indica in the left-hand corner of the aquarium, and this is a nice plant. The Latin Rotana Indica means the plant with the round leaves, but apparently when grown underwater, this plant has long red leaves, and so I don't know that I'll wind up with the round leaves that some pictures of this show on the internet. But it's considered to be a relatively undemanding plant. It does need good light, and that way you'll get the red leaves, and that's what I'm really hoping is that I get the red there. And then the other thing that you hear a lot about this plant is that you have to prune it back regularly, otherwise the bottom leaves will die out. So I will wait until this becomes established in the left-hand side of my tank, and then I'll prune it back, but it's considered a mid-ground plant, and I'm pretty excited about the Rotana Indica. A plant that isn't doing so well in the aquarium is something called a Pink Telanthera, and I wanted to use this in the corners and maybe in the background behind that driftwood, but the plecos have decided that they really like this plant, so they are eating the heck out of those leaves, and I don't know how much longer the Pink Telanthera is going to survive. But on the other hand, and the other thing is they keep digging it up so it doesn't stay rooted. I don't know why. But the one thing I have noticed with Telanthera is that the new leaves that are coming out, they aren't interested in. It's the old leaves that were there, and I think this plant might be grown immersed as opposed to submersed, and so the old leaves may not have survived anyway, and the plecos are essentially eating what is about to be dead plant leaf material. I don't know. I haven't got it figured out. I don't know enough about it, but I have noticed that the new leaves that are coming out since I put the plants in the tank, they aren't eating. So maybe everything that grows in the tank will be allowed to survive, but it also may be that plant is not something that's long for this world. Okay, so that's the aquarium. It's looking really good, but let me tell you more about the Snakeskin Barb, and this is a really cool fish. It's hard to know where to begin in terms of talking about the best thing about these fish. I would say probably it is that they are peaceful compared to other barbs. As you know, many of the barb species you can put in your tank are quite beautiful, but they are prone to nipping at other fish, so you can't keep them, for instance, with angelfish and that sort of thing. But the Snakeskin Barb is different. It absolutely does not nip at the fins of the other fish, the long fin fish. And I've got them in this tank with some thread fin rainbows, and they have a long trailing fin, and I have not seen any aggression in any direction toward them. So no nipping. That's number one. Number two, of course, is they're beautiful. It's a really attractive fish with that sort of greenish hue to them in the striping, and the beautiful decorations on their side, and then some red around the fins, and if you're lucky, red around the gill area. So it is a gorgeous fish, and also it's nice because it stays in a school. So if you're looking for an aquarium with a school, then this is definitely something you want to do, and you'll want to have probably 6 or 7 or more fish. I've always heard that odd numbers of fish school better than even numbers. I haven't observed that personally in my tanks, but that seems to be the thing. So if you've got a big enough tank, I'd start out with 7. And that would be something that you would look at. And then the neat thing is that they do tend to move together in and out of the hiding places in your aquarium, which I think is one of the more enjoyable aspects of aquarium keeping. If you're looking for that certain display where you've got fish in all the different parts of the water column, these fish will go in and out of your plants. They'll go in and out of the driftwood, and when they do it all together, it's really something to see. It's even fun when they're hovering. And I love to watch that. My particular group likes to hover in the bronze crypts, which I think is probably no accident because they sort of have a bronze color, and really anything that you see in a fish is all geared towards survival. And I think they figured out that they sort of disappear when they're in the bronze crypts because they have that bronze background and then the dark stripes, and honestly, they look a lot like the background. So if a predator fish were to come along, he might not see them. And I think they just figure that out naturally. So that's pretty cool. They're really easy to feed. They take all the flake food and all the pelleted food that I put in there, so that hasn't been a problem. The other question is, how big do they get? I've done a lot of research on it, and many of the posts suggest that they max out at 2 inches but there are some others that say they max out at 3 inches. And then the difference of males and females, the female is slightly larger and wider, and that's how you tell the difference. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at the difference in this aquarium. I can see that there are some that are bigger and some that are smaller, and I bought them all together, so I would assume that's the difference between males and females. This is a fish that has been bred in captivity, so and I'll put some links to that in the description with this video, but that's not something that I'm particularly interested in doing. I'm more interested in watching them. So that's a look at the Snakeskin Barb, which has been great. The other thing I would say is that you don't want to have probably one of them in your tank, because I think it will probably be a loner that'll hide off in the corner. And I wouldn't put a school of these in a tank smaller than a 29 gallon. You might get away with a 20, but I wouldn't want to have another fish in there. In this particular tank, I've got them in there with a school of neons. There is a school of the, as I mentioned, the threadfin rainbows, and they all seem to get along fine, and there's enough space, and I have 2 small cichlids in the tank, along with some cory catfish and lots of plecos. And that's how this 55 is set up. So we talked about a lot in this Fincast. Talked about the Huge Driftwood project. Talked a little bit more about the new fertilizers from Dennerle, and of course an update on the planting of this aquarium, and most importantly the Snakeskin Barb. And I'll put links to all of that in the description with this video. Having said that, please click around. I'll give you an opportunity to click on my planted tank playlist, and there are a lot of planted tank videos in my playlist. And thanks again, because we've gone over 1 million views, and so the next thing I guess would be 2 million, but it may be a while before we see that. I appreciate you watching at any rate. That's all for this one, and I'll see you in the next Fincast.